greatest.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Sixth NBA championship, and it's their second three-peat.
And we are locked in. It's the best time to get locked in. Isn't that right, Dave?
Because there's nothing better. There's three things: death, taxes, and the Locked In Sports Podcast.
I love that line. You may have to use that every single time now.
God dang it. Yeah, man, I can't wait. It's a great time of the year. Spring, the weather's getting warmer here in Florida. Today's been a great day in NFL free agency. Big names, Hall of Famers are just flying around the league. I like our hypothetical. We'll get into it. Or can I kind of break it? Can we talk about it a little bit now?
Talk about what?
The dumb thing that this lady did. So on social media last night, it kind of broke. I saw it on Twitter. And I guess this lady was at a zoo and she wanted to take a picture of a jaguar. So she literally jumps over the cage to get a picture with a real live jaguar. So Jaguar does what a Jaguar does and beats the crap out of this lady, claws her. Her arm is all bloody and broken and busted open. So I was like, God, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. So Max and I talked about it today. I want to talk about the top 5 dumbest sport moves we've ever seen. It could be in any sport, just really dumb thing a team has done or a player has done or an organization. It's open. So, we'll hit that at the end of the episode. You cool with that, Cuzzo?
Of course. Couple big things real quick, guys. We are getting locked in at Combat Night, so make sure you come out and watch the Locked In crew do their thing. There's going to be some great MMA fights. Mitchell Tremali always puts on a tremendous show. Dave, we have to thank Fit Meals for always providing the best meals there is. Healthy meals, convenient, quick, easy meals. But it's very delicious, too. It's kind of hard to find that. I know a lot of commercials say that they taste good, but they don't always taste good. These taste pretty damn good.
Absolutely, Cuzzo. I got mine yesterday, last night, Sunday night, coming into today. One, it was a salad with grilled chicken. I had that for lunch today.
Ooh.
And for tonight, I will have its steak. It's lean steak, and the side is asparagus. I can't wait, Cuzzo. I'm living the dream over here.
That sounds great. All right, can I just start something with Antonio Brown? So obviously he got traded to the Raiders, right?
Yeah, that's the big breaking news. Let's kind of give him a big moment, a big podcast. Antonio Brown, soon to be Las Vegas Raider.
Yeah, so he gets traded to the Raiders, and I put something out there that it's more interesting to me, not what happened, but what will transpire, what will happen. I think the Raiders got better. I think I question their direction. I don't have complete confidence in John Gruden. We'll get into that. I think the Steelers cleared the locker room. But what interests me is you have a guy, yes, he's probably the best wide receiver in the league, and I got some pushback on Twitter saying he's not the best receiver. Point being, he's a very talented receiver. I think he's the best. I'm pretty sure you think he's the best. But if he's not the best, guys, he's the second best. So you have a guy that's probably the most talented in his position, he wants more money, and he predicted he didn't predict, but he demanded on where he got traded to. He wasn't a free agent. And the business model for the NFL is the shield, leadership, coaching, and then in the NBA, it's a little more political, player empowerment, player mobility. So to have an NFL player decide where he goes and earn the same amount of money that he wanted is incredible, and it goes against everything the NFL stands for.
Yeah.
So what got interesting for me was, will we see more of this? Because the whole world is a copycat world, right? We have the Locked In podcast. We always see things, right? In the NBA, it's a copycat thing. LeBron James does this. All of a sudden, people do this. Steph Curry shoots the three. Now everybody shoots the three. So will we see more of this, Cuzzo, of players trying to exercise their leverage. Not everybody could do it, of course, but will we see the top tier level NFL players start to do this?
Yeah, it is a great topical, hypothetical conversation. It really is. It's a great debate. I can see why people can see one way or another. Antonio Brown just pulled a NBA superstar move. He did. Football players don't do this. T.O. used to do it back in the day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he went to worst team, and then he went to Buffalo, to Cincinnati, and he was out of the league. Like, it happens real quick in the NFL. If you don't, stay in line, if you don't listen, if you don't kind of put your head down and work harder than the next guy, like, the league will chew you up and spit you out. The NFL is not the National Football League. It's the not for long league.
Ooh.
So, you like this?
That was pretty good.
That. So, to answer your question, I hate being in this middle ground. I kind of want to say yes and no, because the Shield, football players know what they're getting themselves into.
Right.
Andrew Luck is going to be a cult until he's year 15. People can say the Patriots held on to Brady a little bit too long because they had Jimmy Garoppolo behind him. So I don't see the whole league changing. But we are in 2019. We never thought the mobility in the NBA, maybe NFL is just years, maybe decades behind them. So maybe in 10, 15 years, we will see a little bit more mobility. It's harder in the NFL. And this is why. This is why you don't see big trades during the season. It's a playbook. All wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers does totally different things than wide receivers for the New England Patriots. It's almost like a different game. So for a great player, Antonio Brown, to switch teams midseason, it's hard. In the NBA, let's just call it out. If KD went to the Celtics this year, right now, there's 14 games left, the Celtics would win the NBA championship. I think everyone in the world would agree with me. You add Kevin Durant, just that talent level. It's like you play ball. You and I, we can go to any wreck in the world. We've challenged Mike Perry and Alex Nicholson enough. They are afraid of the locked-in crew. Let's just call them out. Let's just call a spade. We can play 2-on-2 anywhere. It's ball. NFL is just different schemes and playbook and coaches. So your answer, very long story short, is yes and no.
I think you make good points about the schemes. And what's really surprising to me is in 2019, the quarterback is more valued than any other position ever. And you'd think that a quarterback would have more of the leverage because it's more of an independent position. The receiver is more of a dependent position because it has to have the ball thrown to him. In the NFL, the quarterback always has the ball. They decide whether they want to throw it to that guy or if they want to hand it off. They audible. So I thought we'd see a Aaron Rodgers, a Cam Newton, probably somebody who goes against the grain a little bit. Obviously, Tom Brady and you mentioned Andrew Luck are more with the system. They love the system. Someone that has more of a personality, a little more political, I thought would do that. And to have a receiver do it is what surprised me a little bit because, the label diva wide receiver. I didn't know how many teams would actually put that much money out and receive somebody who not only is, one, not the most valuable position on the field, but two, who may cause some locker room issues. But typically you bite down the bullet if it's a quarterback because of how much benefit you get with the quarterback, No,
I totally agree. And this is a name that we don't talk about a lot on the podcast. And it's just, I think we do it for a particular reason, just to be bluntly honest to all the people listening. Colin Kaepernick. Before Colin Kaepernick, bent the knee and kind of went against the grain and became very political. Guys, he was a Super Bowl starting quarterback. He was an NFC championship game starting quarterback. He was coming off a bad year, but, that's just your New York Giants, Max. Eli Manning's been bad for almost a half a decade,
yes.
And they're still sticking with him. Blake Bortles goes up and down. And there's just, my point is there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that get the benefit of the doubt for years. So Colin Kaepernick and he was still young, 25 years old, 26 years old. And the NFL, the Shield, if you go against the grain, they spit you up. It's unbelievable how, and that's a quarterback, like you were saying. So I don't know if a lot of players are going to do this. I just don't see a lot of guys want to go against it because you don't know what's going to happen. The NFL does not give they cut players daily. A lot of these guys, I want to, say a lot of names that just got signed to new deals. Half of these players won't even make it through these contracts. It's unbelievable the power the NFL has over the players.
Yeah, it's next guy up type of culture and mentality. I know we have Blake Bortles to talk about, Nick Foles to talk about, all these different signings. But just very quickly, we talked about kind of the outside perspective of what this means for the National Football League. But just on-field tangibles, is this a good move for the Raiders, and does this make sense for the Steelers? Because I'm on the side of, like, as I said earlier, I think it works. I'm not saying the Raiders are going to win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying I have complete confidence in John Gruden, but whenever you acquire the best wide receiver, typically you do get better. And for the Steelers, I really think Big Ben needs to look at himself, Dave, because now you have Le'Veon Bell out of the locker room, right? He hasn't signed to a team yet. But now you have Antonio Brown out of the locker room, and those are the two biggest people that kind of clashed with the team. And Big Ben, I think, is a big catalyst of that. So now this season, I think all the money, all the eyes are on Big Ben, because if there's still drama in this locker room, clearly he's the common denominator, not those two. So I want to say it gets better for them locker room wise, and then maybe they'll perform better on the field and stop underachieving. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, those are great points. I like the deal for both teams. One, Pittsburgh was cancerous. It was a bad situation. For one, they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have all the talent in the world. You didn't make the playoffs. So I think they made a great deal. You got a third and a fifth round pick. You picked Antonio Brown in the sixth round. So with one of those picks, you pick another wide receiver because you do have Juju, who's becoming a easy number one target on any team in the world.
Yeah.
So Pittsburgh has a good receiver right there, and you pick another one. And the other pick, I think you pick another defensive lineman. You just get more people to go after the quarterback, especially an old veteran quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers, who, teams you got to go through the AFC playoffs. So with Pittsburgh, I think if you just made the locker room more togetherness, if you kind of put a lot of glue and you just kind of pushed the loud noise outside the doors and got two new draft picks, two younger, cheaper players, and Antonio Brown was like $14 million on their cap. Like they have a little bit more money to move around. So I like the deal for the Steelers. And I'm always a player guy, and if you always get the best player in the trade, I'm pro Raiders, or I should be pro Raiders. I don't know. I don't foresee this being very positive. I just see fireworks between Brown, Carr, and Gruden, because it seems like Derek Carr and Antonio Brown so far already have like a great relationship. But there's been rumors that Gruden's wanted to trade Carr.
Yeah.
And they really like Kyler Murray at 4 if Arizona didn't pick him. Like, I remember talking about when Kyler Murray when he decided to go to the NFL draft, I threw out Oakland as a landing spot and people thought I was crazy. Now people don't think he's going to make it to the 4th spot. So what happened if they trade Carr away and it's John Gruden's team? It's not the quarterbacks, and it's definitely not the wide receivers team. Will Antonio Brown feel like a little bit betrayed? This just has like gasoline match written all over it. I think this could be very, very just woof.
And it's kind of what we talked about with Bryce Harper. It's like, besides the Locked In podcast and a great relationship, you're not too sure what you could bet a 10-year policy on. And John Gruden has a 10-year contract. So it's like, he has time to kind of implement his game plan and his strategy, but at the same time, a 10-year contract's also very dangerous. That's just like, you have a lot of leash, but he can also take advantage of that as well.
Definitely. Hey, Max, let me go through a couple names with a couple players that signed with new teams, and then at the end, I'll throw out the Nick Foles. if any of these players or teams that you want to, jumps at you, let me know. And then if not, we'll talk about the Nick Foles to the Jacksonville contract. A couple safeties. Maybe it's the biggest safety deal in NFL history. Landon Collins, an ex-Giant.
Yep.
He stays in the NFC East, and he goes to the Washington Redskins. Big money deal. Tyrone Matthew, a legit great safety. He was a Cardinal. Last year he was a Texan. He signed with the Chiefs, who I love that for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They were so close. They just needed a defensive playmaker, and I think they got that. Two more real quick ones. Terrell Suggs to Arizona, 16-year Baltimore Raven, probably will be into the Hall of Fame. Frank Gore signed a 1-year deal with my Buffalo Bills. Deshaun Jackson got traded back to the Philadelphia Eagles. I like that for Carson Wentz and the Eagles.
Yeah, me too.
But probably the big headliner, and I'll say it, and then you can jump on any of those or just we can talk about it. Nick Foles signs that 4-year, $88 million deal to Duval, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wow. I'm just kind of like, wow. All right, take it away. What you think, Cuzzo?
We briefly talked about it off air, so we didn't dive in depth with it. Everything is pretty much off script, guys. If this is your first time listening on any podcast platform, Locked In with 2 N's, download and subscribe. I think Foles, if you had stock, right? LeBron James' stock is he was the best in the world. Even if we disagree, I still think he's the best. You think maybe second, third best, but it's definitely going downwards. Somebody like Giannis is going up. They have a high stock. Foles, I think, is going downward. I think he's reached his highest high. I think winning the Super Bowl, terrific achievement. He's very coachable. He's a system guy. He always seems to perform when the lights are the brightest. I'll give him that. I don't think he does better than what he's already done. But that being said, on the other hand, I think he definitely is better than Blake Bortles. And both you and I were not a fan of Blake Bortles for the Jags, and you need a quarterback in the most important position in the league. So I'm happy that the Jags got a more dependable quarterback. But I think this is too much money, Dave. I think you're investing in somebody who's good, but he's not that good. Do you agree with me?
Oh, 200%. I'm angry at this deal. Max, you're a big time Laker fan, right?
Yes, sir.
You want them to make a splash this offseason, right?
Oh, please.
Maybe Klay Thompson was not happy in Golden State, or they do the trade for Anthony Davis, or Kawhi Leonard comes in. You want them to make a splash, right?
I would hope so.
Okay. What happened if Paul Millsap, who's a good player in this league, and all these free agents, Kemba goes to New York, Kawhi goes to the Clippers, all these deals happen, and Paul Millsap is left. So he should get around 18 million or 16 million NBA money range. But no, the Lakers are like, wow, he's the last one left. There's a little bit of a bidding war, and you give him a $25 or a $30 million max contract deal. It's ludicrous.
Dave, I'm angry. How dare you even speak that into existence? I don't even want that to come to fruition in the slightest possibility. Please take that back.
Cuzzo, I'm making a point here. This deal for the Jaguars is disgusting. He's not that much better than Blake Bortles. How can you give him a 4-year, $88 million deal? Guys, the reason he works in Philadelphia, let me just call this out, is that he made a little bit of money, and Carson Wentz didn't get paid yet. So you had 2-3 running backs. You had Zach Ertz. You had 2-3 wide receivers. Your D-line, your O-line was terrific. You have players like Malcolm Jenkins on the outside. Your team is stacked. That's why all you do, all Nick Foles has to do is just kind of be the glue. Just kind of hand the ball off. Just kind of throw the ball. And he had a great Super Bowl. I'm not going to take it away from the guy, but there's been decent quarterbacks to win a big game. But for his career, he's been a legitimate backup. He's never been a 2, 3, 4 year straight starter. And you just signed him. If you give him 1 year with a ton of money, I can say, okay, it's a 1-year deal. I can feel you. But a 4-year, $88 million, this is a horrible deal for Jacksonville.
Dave, let me interrupt you too, because you mentioned something. He was backing up Carson Wentz, who's one of the best young, promising quarterbacks in the National Football League. And he came in there as a backup and literally had no pressure. It was just what can you do And everything he did was a positive. Like, wow, we didn't see that coming. He won another game. It's like, wow, he just won another game. Now you have pressure. Now you are the guy. You do have the big time money, and now you have to deliver. There is no more like, there's no pressure. Do what you can, and everything you do positive will definitely be noticed. Now, everything you do bad will be noticed, and if you don't deliver the positive, you'll be scrutinized.
Yeah, exactly. 10 times more. And Jacksonville was already a defensive team, and for them to say, I feel like you're giving them Jalen Ramsey hasn't get paid, so now you're saying, hey guys, the guy on the team that makes the most money is the offensive quarterback. You're trying to change the identity of what the Jaguars were great at. It's a knucklehead move. It's a deal out of distress. It's a deal out of just hope, and it doesn't work out. You don't see Patriots making these good deals. I mean, these horrible deals. It's just not what you should do.
Yeah, it's terrible. Talking about bad deals, Dave, I'm not sure if you have any funny stories going to Target, maybe Publix, whatever the case may be. Can we get into the worst moves in sports history?
Wow, not the worst, the dumbest.
Okay.
Because this lady jumped over a barrier that held a Jaguar in it. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard a lady do. I
don't want anybody getting hurt. I don't want anybody getting in trouble. I'm an animal lover, though. And if I saw somebody doing that, this sounds absolutely awful to say, but can we just say, what do you expect to happen? I don't know what any person in their right mind can think doing this. And I hate for animals to get painted in this bad picture. Oh, animal attacks person. It's like, well, if you came into my home, I'd probably be defensive too, unless you're Dave. So I'm not too sure what people expect. It's just so dumb.
To me, in this analogy, the lady is the bad guy in Terminator 2 he's made out of all that liquid.
Yeah.
And the Jaguar is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a great thing. You're jumping over a cage to get with the Jaguar. You're the dumb person here. Oh my gosh. I saw it last night and I was like, I can talk about this for an hour. And then, of course, we talk about sports, so we had to make it together. So,
yeah.
Okay, I am ready.
Can I take the floor on this one? I know we did our top 5 on the last episode. I'm really excited about this list.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. You do. We'll go back and forth. I have a couple honorable mentions. Should we save them for the end because you'd be like, what? That didn't make your list? What do you think? Yeah,
let's save it towards the end.
Okay.
All right.
So do you want to go with your least dumbest and go up?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to rank because some of these moves are just so dumb. But yeah. Okay. I'll go with my number 5.
Okay, here we go.
With significance towards history, this isn't the least dumb. But just because of how dumb some of the other ones are, it's not the dumbest. Does that make sense?
This is actually the smartest podcast in the business, Locked In Sports Podcast. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
There you go. The Red Sox dump Babe Ruth in 1920, and the owner Harry sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees for $125,000. And the reason why I put that in my top 5 is because what do we know Babe Ruth as?
The GOAT of baseball.
So whenever you see somebody getting rid of the GOAT of baseball, that's dumb. So like I said, it probably has more significance to history than some of the other ones above it, but that's just a dumb move.
Max, that was on my list. It was kind of deeper in my list because, for one, you know me, I'm a diehard New York Yankee fan. So this always, created the curse in Boston, which has just been great.
Yep.
It created the greatest rivalry in baseball between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Not that all these other dumb things people have done, trades, whatever, picks, all this stuff, they sold him. It wasn't even a trade. It wasn't like we were, hey, he didn't fit your system and Antonio Brown wanted to leave the team and you're like, okay, we're going to get 2 draft picks. They said, we just can't really afford you and we're going to sell you. for $125,000. Are you kidding me? Bryce Harper just signed a $330 million deal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm 100% agreeing. That did make my list.
Cool. All right. Well, so are you going to make that as your list right there?
Yeah. I'll just make it right in there at number 5.
Okay. My number 4. The 76ers draft 3 centers in a row, Dave. Like I said, they're just so dumb. When you look at this, it's comical. So they get Nerlens Noel, who's good. He was coming off an injury. Jahlil Okafor was a beast, and now Joel Embiid is the hit, right? 3 centers in a row, Dave, is something that I just can't wrap my head around. Like, okay, you get the guy. He didn't really work out well in Nerlens Noel. Okay, we're going to get another center who plays the same exact position, so when they're healthy, they collide. But what if both of them worked out? No, now let's get a third center. So the 76ers, the trusting the process seems to be pretty now, but back in the day, it was just dumb move after dumb move after dumb move.
Wow. I'm going to rebuttal on that just a tad.
Okay.
Twofold. One, if you date a girl and it doesn't work out, you try to date another girl. You don't give up. If the 76ers want a center and it's not working after 1 or after 2, you draft a third. And if I could say the third one, the last one, Joel Embiid was the diamond in the rough. So maybe that wasn't so dumb after all.
I mean, if you think about the other 2 drafts that they passed up, and you add Joel Embiid to that, they could have probably already had a championship.
I don't. That's speaking a lot to say a championship, but I get what you're saying. I don't think it was the smartest move, but the last one was the 1-2 pick. Embiid has been the best guy out of that draft.
That's true. All right, what's your pick?
Okay, my number 4. It was so funny. It was football. I might switch it to basketball just because you did one. All right, yep, I'm switching it. The Minnesota Timberwolves select not 1 point guard in front of a player named Stephen Curry, 2 point guards. So they had 2 picks in a row. So this is why I'm going, the Philly thing isn't that dumb, because this was different years. And Noel just not pan out, so they're like, hey, we got to move on. The Timberwolves go, hey, guys, we have 1 starting point guard. We have the 4th and 5th pick. We're going to pick one. Boom. And then they're like, wait, Johnny Flynn from Syracuse might not be the future. He might not be the guy. Rubio from Spain, we're going to pick him too. So we're going to pick not 1, but 2 point guards right in front of, could be arguably one day, the greatest point guard to ever play basketball.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. I was going to put that on my list, but that kind of goes with my honorable mentions. That was one of them. Because honestly, looking back at it now, you're like, that's dumb. How many people then were like, oh, that kid from Davidson's going to be the greatest? So it's like, I may have made that mistake, not drafting 2 point guards in front of him, but picking people in front of Curry. Another honorable one that I didn't even put on here was drafting Greg Oden over Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only.
That made my list too.
Oh, okay, my bad. You want to? Oh, honorable or on your list?
No. Didn't you just say honorable?
Yeah, I was just talking about it because now we're talking about drafts, and it's like, of course, I won't go any further in case it's on your list. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that one up.
Yeah, and it was so funny. I had the same thing. It was right there. But at the time, that's what I kind of said. At the time, Greg Oden was a bona fide player of the year, the best defensive basketball player in the last decade. So at the time, it wasn't horrible. But yeah, Kevin Durant became a top 10 best player of all time. So that is kind of dumb.
How about
so top three dumbest plays, dumbest moves ever in sports?
How about the Colts trading away John Elway? How do you feel about that one, Dave?
Is that on your list?
How do you feel about it?
No, it's not. It's not dumb. John Elway forced him way out of it.
Because of the baseball?
No, he just didn't want to play in the Colts. He used baseball as a bargaining chip to get out of there. Eli Manning was the first pick that year, and the Chargers had the first. And they're like, no, we're not, drafting, you don't get. the Manning said, "You're not playing in San Diego." So they made him trade it. So no,
it's not. That was an honorable mention. I'm sorry, I should have clarified. It was just an honorable mention. I just wanted to get your thoughts about that because I know a lot of people think that's a dumb move because how great John Elway is. But I just wanted your thoughts on that one.
Okay.
But going on my list here, we're at number 3. Again, not probably the most historical, dumbest move, but looking back at it, and I'm pretty sure if I was the GM at the time, I would have noticed how dumb this was. The Nets getting Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry reunited, as if that move would have helped rejuvenate their franchise. To me, Dave, that was just such a no-brainer not going to work. I don't know about you. Both of them look like on their way down. The Celtics are obviously splitting up. Ray Allen goes to Miami. This was never going to work, in my opinion, and I think it's one of the dumbest moves that has been made in the NBA.
Okay. It didn't work out. I agree with you. But at the time, Garnett was still playing. Pierce was still solid. And Brooklyn was just trying to make a splash. So I don't think it was a great move. But I don't know one of the dumbest moves in sports history. But that's just my call.
All right. What's on your list?
All right. I have 3 left. I'm going to save that one. Yep. Here we go. Brett Favre, before he retired, had the most wins in NFL history, had the most passing touchdowns in NFL history, tied for the most MVPs in the regular season, and won a Super Bowl. And he was a part of the Atlanta Falcons.
That's on my list too.
He was drafted in the 2nd round. They just didn't play him. Him and the coach did not get along. And they traded him to Green Bay for a 1st-round pick, which they thought they robbed Green Bay. But I just told you, he was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And what he did for the Green Bay Packers is still legendary.
Yeah. No, that's on my list.
Oh, very cool. It's incredible. That's what I mean. The other thing for Brooklyn didn't go their way, but this is like all-time stuff. Brett Favre is, a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was on my list. So since that was like my number 2, do you want to give your number 2?
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's a great one. My number 2, this is a good one. You're going to love this. The Charlotte Hornets, back in the day when they were the Charlotte Hornets.
That's my number 1. That's my number 1.
Wow. Okay, so then you're going to like my one then, I think. Yeah, the 13th pick of the draft was Kobe Bean Bryant for the Hornets.
Yep.
From high school, he showed a lot of flair, and that was when a lot of high schoolers were coming in the NBA. Some made it, some not. But they decided to trade him to an organization called the Los Angeles Lakers for Vlade Divac. Well, at the time, Vlade Divac was a solid starting center in the league. But guys, Kobe Bryant became a top 5 NBA player of all time, 5-time champion, 1-time MVP, the 5th greatest scoring player in the history of the game, one of the best players ever. And the Hornets had him at the 13th spot, and they traded them on draft night. They didn't even let him get to at least let him get into your, in your practices and your facilities, and then you can decide, hey, this kid can make it or not. So that was my number 2 dumbest move of all time.
Yeah, that was my number 1, just because they did not draft Steph Curry. Here they actually had Kobe, and they got rid of it. Like you said, they traded him for Divac. So that was my number 1 dumbest move. So now you're number 1.
Wow. Okay. So this is we guys, we said it. It's off script. We did not tell each other. I'm really happy that a couple of ours went on each other because I feel like it's that dumb. I feel really sure that the people, the locked in community, will agree with us about Babe Ruth and Brett Favre and Kobe Bryant. But my number 1 dumbest move in sports history. And I can't believe that my co-host, does not have it. Dan Gilbert, the Cleveland Cavaliers, not once, but twice, lost the greatest player of all time from Akron, Ohio, who loves the city of Cleveland, and he lost them twice. You get bad players around him.
Yeah.
You get just nonsense around him. You ridicule him when he wants to become a champion and say he will never win on his own, which he won to in Miami, Dan. And you did not give LeBron any respect that he deserves and all the credit that he should have got. Dan Gilbert, as the worst owner in sports, lost LeBron James, the hometown kid, twice.
See, right now, Dan Gilbert and I aren't on speaking terms, so I'm not allowed to say his name. He can't say my name. I'm just strictly LeBron, Team LeBron, and he can't stand that. So just due to contract stuff, I couldn't say his name, but I completely agree with you.
You like that one, right?
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, that's 100% given. I feel like people say I'm a LeBron homer if I put that on there, but yeah, to lose it once and then the way you lost him and then to write that letter is just absolutely awful and disrespectful and honestly unprofessional. And then not only that, to lose him a second time, I mean, he's basically begging you to do something to keep him and you still can't do it. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's the honorable mention too. Like you talked about the Durant. Oh yeah, this was, and I really thought this was going to be on your list. It's almost reason why I didn't put him on it.
Me too. Michael B. Jordan.
The greatest player of all time in basketball history. A lot of people think wasn't drafted number 1 in the draft. Wasn't drafted number 2 in the draft. He was drafted number 3.
Yeah, I said Michael B. Jordan.
2 reasons why I didn't have it as like a horrible, dumb move is, one, the first pick was Akeem Olajuwon, which there's really no argument there. Yeah, Jordan's, of course, better, but Akeem won 2 titles for Houston, and they wanted a center and one of the greatest defenders of all time. Akeem is a top 20 player in the history of the league. So they made a good pick. Like when you win 2 championships out of a first-round pick, if Ben Simmons wins Philly 2 championships, you're happy. It's not a dumb pick, right? You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then number 2 was Sam Bowie for Portland. For one, Sam Bowie was the best college player that year. And at that time, the Portland Trailblazers had Clyde Drexler. And this was guys in 1984. It wasn't 2019 when 2019, you can have Durant, Kawhi, and LeBron all on one team. Shoot, might happen. You can have those and they can all flow, and it's just everyone switches and shoots threes, and it's all about fast breaks. That's how the league is. Back then, you had a small white point guard. You had a big 7-foot center, and then you had certain spots. And they already had Clyde Drexler, who was kind of the same body type of Jordan. And that's why they didn't go that route. Like, I see the reason, and it's a bad move. It's a dumb move. But I do get why they didn't do it,
No, I completely agree. I kind of didn't put him on there just for that reason. I'm like, that's kind of a given. I think he's going to put it on there, but let me just be different. Wow, those are some pretty dumb moves.
Not as dumb as that lady in the Jaguar, but
yeah, I know that's just next level dumb. I have it locked in for you.
Oh, give it to me.
Okay, my locked in is that there will be more dumb things to come, and it kind of sounds like, well, duh, of course that's going to happen. I think we get shot. I think we forget how many dumb moves are made every year. And I feel like there's going to be, especially with the free agency increasing in the NBA, of course, any other sport, this applies to them, that there will be more dumb things to come. But especially in the NBA, there's so much player mobility now. So there's a lot more room for success, but there's also a lot more room for error. And that being said, I think we're going to see some pretty dumb moves made in the NBA this offseason.
I totally agree with that. There's just so many trades. Imagine if Minnesota would have, on draft day 2 years ago, they traded Zach LaVine and Markman, who's been really good, for Jimmy Butler. And at the time, everyone loved Minnesota. Like, they're like, wow, you got Jimmy Butler, you got a top 20 player. But that didn't work. And it kind of hurt Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins because they were both younger guys. Imagine if they had 2 more pieces, LaVine and Markman, who can stretch out the floor for Cat. Like, that would be a great foursome in Minnesota. So that was a dumb move. So with all that, I totally agree with you. Mine is kind of with it the same way. We said his name multiple times. A dumb contract by Nick Foles from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They will regret this deal. There's no way I'm locking this in right now. Nick Foles does not play 4 years for the Jaguars. They will cut him, trade him, retire him. It won't make it. It was a dumb contract. Nick Foles and the Jaguars are officially locked out.
I agree with it. 100% agree. Guys, this podcast is available on any podcast platform. Locked In with 2 N's. Download, subscribe, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, tell a friend, a family member, a teammate. We want to hear from you guys because we are the People's Podcast.
Absolutely. With that, Max, we just had a lot of our personal preferences, what we thought were some of the dumbest moves in sports. But I want to hear from you guys. You can at Locked In on any social media platform, or you can even message us, or you can even just throw it on Facebook. I'm at David Van Auken, spell that correctly. You can do it at my cousin, Max Van Auken, spell that correctly. We want to hear from you. We want to hear, wow, you guys didn't mention this guy, or you didn't mention Mike Tyson never fighting this guy. Like, we want to hear from you something that we maybe overlooked. So I am really intrigued to hear what the Locked In community says.
I'll dig it. Dave, and like always, stay locked in.